This video is sponsored by Manta Sleep, possibly the most perfect sponsorship for an ASMR video. Manta Sleep create incredible sleep masks as well as functional sleep accessories. I personally have the Manta Sleep mask, but there's a wide range of other products. There's the weighted mask, the silk mask, and also the Sleep Mask Pro. I used to wear a sleep mask all the time before it got too uncomfortable, because it was one of those free ones you get on long haul flights. But these Manta sleep masks they're the real deal. They are literally so comfortable and let no light in whatsoever. I genuinely think if I didn't set an alarm or didn't live in a house with young kids that make an unholy amount of noise in the morning, I'd probably sleep for 3 days straight, so use at your own risk. So if you want an amazing night's sleep in a super comfortable eye mask, then you can click the link in the description or go to mantasleep.com to secure your eye mask now, and if you use the code allsorts10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase. That is mantasleep.com, allsorts10 at checkout. Thank you so much to Manta Sleep for sponsoring today's video, and I really hope you guys enjoy. Let's get on with the video. Hey everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. Now today we have the fourth and final ASMR Halloween themed video that I've been putting out over the last couple of weeks. We began with horror movie tier list, then history of Halloween, facts about horror movies, and now what I have for you is 1 hour of scary Reddit stories. I've got my hood up. I don't know if any of you do this when you're watching like a horror film, but I just feel like having my hood up gives me a extra bit of security. But essentially what I've done is gone on the nosleep subreddit and found 4 of the top rated ones for October and September, so hopefully you shouldn't have heard these ones before on any other scary ASMR videos. I have not read these stories, so if they're not scary or they're not good, I apologise, but you can take that up with the Reddit community because these are high rated. I did try to get like a mix of supernatural and then slightly more realistic ones. We have done scary Reddit stories before, but they were sort of a bit more rooted in reality. I think the idea of no sleep is they are mainly fictitious and written in such a way that it's probably meant to scare you with the way it's written rather than the realistic content. But we'll see. So, happy Halloween. I believe it is Halloween, the date that this comes out, so happy Halloween everyone. If you celebrate it or whatever, I hope you had a good night and time. And now you can end your night by watching this and hopefully getting some sleep, or not getting sleep, in this case as the subreddit would suggest. But I really hope you enjoy, and let's begin with story number 1. Okay, so this story is called You've Got a New Match. You've got a new match. My hormonal teenage self couldn't have been more excited. I quickly lost interest in the homework I had been working on that night and opened my phone, almost as fast as it could light up with the notification. I clicked on the icon, staring intently until Tinder opened. Of course I was excited. I ran all the possibilities in my head, all the things that could happen. This could be the girl of my dreams. No, it didn't appear as though I matched with the girl of my dreams. This looked more like the girl from a nightmare that would shake the vilest creature in the deepest pit of hell to its crooked bones. Smiling from ear to ear, literally was my match. In the first picture of her profile, no name, no age, only seemed to be professionally taken. It was a full body picture. She was dressed in some sort of very formal black dress, and there was nothing about her body that seemed out of the ordinary. She had black hair that was down and presented nicely, likely for this picture or whatever event this picture was taken for. But I didn't give much thought to that, and you'll understand why. Her skin was well kept and seemingly unblemished. Come to think of it now, her face was the only off-putting thing about the picture. But oh god, the face. Her eyes didn't sit inside where the sockets should be. They bulged out, seeming far too large for her face. They had no whites. The irises were everything. They were a dark purple, almost black. The eyes had no details. They were just blank, empty. Her teeth were normal, human teeth, and there would have been nothing wrong with them if she didn't have many, many more than any person should have. Her jaw opened wide, very wide. It opened from the bottom of one ear to the other, teeth showing in their entirety as she gave a nice big smile at the camera. I was disgusted by whatever Photoshop job this must have been, but I was also intrigued. It was a really good edit after all. I thought it must have been some artist who wanted to show off their skills or something. But before I engaged in any chats with this match, I noticed they had more photos. 5 more. I swiped to the second one. The same girl in the same dress and all the same grotesque facial features was front and centre in this photo once again. But both the quality and setting of this one was much different. It looked like it was taken with a cell phone. The picture wasn't even level, but that's not the detail I first recognised. She was levitating off the ground. The ground, as well as the walls and the ceiling, was seemingly made of corpses. All that provided light in the photo were half-melted candles on the ground and the flash from the camera. This one looked too real. The bodies all had pretty distinct features. It almost made me sick. Some looked like they were mere skeletons with everything decomposed. Others looked fresh, very fresh. One thing that many of them seemed to have in common was they were missing a lower jaw, an odd detail. I scrolled past this one quicker than the last. It upset me the more I looked at it, but the third was more confusing. The third picture was of her, once again, and in her black dress as she hovered in the middle of an empty field this time. The quality of this picture was like that of the first. It seemed as if it were professionally taken and edited. The sky was an impossible shade of red. As a consequence, the entire image had a sort of red tint to it. Other than that, it simply looked as if it was some sort of farmland. This one didn't disturb me like the last, but it had an eerie feel to it. It was as if the picture was taken in the apocalypse, and like it was showing me the end of the world. Once again, I thought this must be some sort of artist, trying to compel these sorts of feelings with the pictures, in the way they took and edited them. I was impressed as I was disturbed. The fourth photo made my heart sink a little. This picture of the girl was taken in front of a building on my university campus. A building not even a 5-minute walk away. It was night time and she was alone. She was once again floating, yet this time above the stairs, in front of the columns of the building. She didn't look any less real in this photo. I scrolled back through the first view and noticed how surprisingly alike she looked in all the pictures, despite their different angles. This art was too good. It was making me sick. The fifth picture I thought must be impossible. It was of her inside another building, but but I knew what building it was. I knew it from the colours on the wall. I knew it from the lights above her floating body. Most of all, I knew where she was, because of the numbers on the door behind her. It was only a few doors down from my apartment, the apartment I was in right now. I quickly scrolled to the last photo. It was a close-up of her, right in front of my door. I dropped my phone and ran to my door to make sure it was locked. Luckily it was. I'm always good about that. But out of curiosity, I thought I would peek through the peephole to see if someone did happen to be there. I placed my eye upon the hole, where I got a glimpse of shoulders and the back of a head with long black hair. In a quick motion, the head turned around while the shoulders remained still. It was her. She widened her smile, ear to ear once again. I jumped back from the door. I ran back to the desk and picked up my phone. Of course, the disgusting picture of her in front of my door was the first thing to pop up as I opened my phone. I quickly exited Tinder and dialed 911. An operator picked up. 911, what is your emergency? I knew that location was the first thing you should give out in a 911 call, because if something happens to you whilst you're on the line, they only have the possibility of helping you if they know where you are. I gave the operator my location, which I am leaving out of this story to not expose myself, and then have a brief detailed scarce summary of the past few minutes. I left out some of the more extreme details because I wanted to be taken seriously. There's someone outside my apartment door. I just got a match on Tinder. When I clicked in to see the photo, she had a bunch of weird ones of her in. Look, it doesn't matter, but she is messed up. Very messed up. The last two photos were of her outside my apartment door, and when I went to look in the peephole, she was still there. I don't know how, but please send help. Alright, sir. Has she threatened you in any way? Has she tried to break into your apartment? We can't just send an officer because you feel scared of some girl you met on Tinder who happens to live in the same apartment building as you. Are you calling because she looks different? I was speechless. I was infuriated. How could they do this? Did they think it was ridiculous? I was calling them because of a girl. I exploded into a rant over the phone. So what if she hasn't done anything yet? What the hell is wrong with you? She found my apartment, my exact apartment, and is standing outside of it. We only matched minutes ago. This isn't right. I need... There was suddenly silence on the other end. I felt like I was about to scream. 911 just hung up on me. I was eyeing up my door for a second when I heard someone on the phone again. It was somebody different. He talked to me once again. This time my phone was up to my ear. Sir, can you hear me? Hello, sir. Yes, I'm here, I replied desperately. Sir, who you were just talking to was not 911 dispatch. I need you to listen to my next instructions very carefully. If you hear another voice other than mine on this call, you need to hang up immediately and wait for me to call back. If the entity you have encountered attempts to communicate with you in any way, for the time being, you need to ignore it. Do not leave your apartment unless I instruct you to. Now, I need your precise location. We got onto this one early on, so we should be able to contain it with ease. I was hesitant to even talk. Are you the police? No, I work for an agency whose purpose is to locate and contain or eliminate entities like the one you have the unfortunate luck of encountering tonight. I need your location now. Maybe I was stupid for giving this man on the phone my location, but with everything that had just hit me, I didn't hesitate. I gave him my address and apartment number. He was silent for about 15 seconds. Alright, a team is en route to your apartment. Sit tight. Now we need to lay out a few more rules. I have I need you to shut them off as quickly as possible. If you hear splashing coming from your toilet, I need you to flush it immediately and close the lid. I need you to repeat these instructions back to me so that I know you understand. Okay, if I hear my door unlock, quickly shut off my lights and hide in the closet. Turn off any sinks or my shower if they turn themselves on, and flush the toilet and close the lid if I hear anything from it. I don't understand how these things can happen or why I would do any of this. If you want to live long enough, you'll follow these instructions exactly. Write them down if you need to. I'm going to need any details and evidence you have that you haven't said over the phone already. Yes, I could still hear what you were saying at the beginning of the call. You said you matched her on Tinder. Does she have a name? Yes, I matched with her on Tinder, but her profile didn't have a name or age, just pictures that. Once again, I was interrupted by the new operator. It seemed he was urgent to exchange as much information as possible. Witnessing what I had, I didn't object. I need you to screenshot those pictures if you can. Is it still possible for you to access them? Yes, give me a moment. I opened up Tinder again and clicked on the profile, quickly screenshotting each picture. Now what? What do you want me to do with them? Text them to the 911 number. Trust me, it'll work. I sent each picture as fast as I possibly could. Alright, looks like I've got 7. Give me a moment while I send these over to our intel team for identification. We might be able to find out enough about this thing to get rid of it right away. I need you to keep an eye out your window on the street. There will be... Wait. Did you say 7? I sent 6. Her profile had 6 pictures. How did you get 7? I quickly opened back up my texts. I did send 7. The first 6 were of her profile, but the 7th was of me. It was taken from outside my window, right outside, and it was recent. I recognised the clothes I was wearing today. On the upper left-hand side of the picture was a hand pressed against my window. I quickly turned towards my window to see no one there. There couldn't have been. It was on the 3rd floor, and there was nothing on that side of the building that would allow someone to climb that high. No one could have been up there to take a picture. I was quick to let the operator know, though I was not calm. I didn't send that last one. It's sent by itself through my phone somehow. It's of me, just a minute ago while we were talking. Alright, calm down. It's trying to scare you. It wants to get in your head. It wants you worked up, so that you'll do something rash. But you're not going to do that, are you? No, sir. Alright, good. Now, as I was saying, there will be 1 man and 1 woman in black suits and holding briefcases they get out of a large SUV. The driver has been instructed to drop them off on the side of your apartment. He knows where it is. They should be arriving right about now. Go check outside your window. I looked outside my window down to the street below, but I didn't see an SUV or 2 people in suits. All I saw were a few pedestrians and a university bus. I don't see anyone down there. Are you sure they're on that side? It's easy to end up at the wrong street down here. Yes, I am sure. You're certain you don't see anyone? No SUV? I'm sorry, but no, I don't. He swore under his breath. I then faintly heard his voice yelling towards someone else. That ain't it. Tell them to keep moving. He then adjusted his mic and began talking to me again. Alright, they've been swindled by the entity. We're figuring that out now. Just be on the lookout for them to arrive. Once they get there, we can start the process of getting rid of this thing. Right then, I heard a firm just knocked on the door and I saw them through the peephole. Should I let them in? The operator practically screamed through the phone. No, no, do not let them in. Those are not our agents. That is the entity trying to get you to open the door. Don't do it. Our agents will not knock. They won't try to get into your door. Get back to your window and watch for them to arrive. Tell me when they do. After a few more minutes of waiting, I finally saw a large SUV pull up in front of the apartment and 2 people get out. 1 man, 1 woman, nice suits and briefcases. After they got out of the car, they looked up at my window as they made their way towards the entrance. The SUV drove off. All right, they're here. Good. They're going to scout out the building, figure out what we're dealing with, and assess if another team needs to be called in. I'll let you know with anything you need to do when I find out. Just stay on the line. I had started to feel relieved, albeit more confused. I did believe these people were here to help, but I didn't know what they could do to help me. How could 2 people from whatever this organisation was possibly deal with this thing at my door? I contemplated the possibilities as I sat down in my chair for the first time in a while, finally calming down a little. This little moment of peace was just that, but not long after I sat down I heard an electronic click from my door as I jumped from my seat. I remembered the operator's instructions. I quickly hit the light switch and picked up the kitchen knife before hopping into my closet. The door just unlocked. I'm hiding with the lights off as you told me. I whispered into my phone. He responded quietly and with as fast a message as he could muster. Just be quiet and don't move. She can't open your closet door and she has no interest in taking your things. No matter what she says, do not respond and do not react. Do not leave the closet until you hear the door close again. Do not hang up this call. As soon as he finished speaking, the door opened. I didn't hear any footsteps, but I knew she was in. I focused on controlling my breathing to make it as quiet as possible. I must have been in there for a good 5 minutes before I heard any noise. Nothing, not a step, not a door opening, not a single thing moving around. I couldn't even hear breathing. I was tempted to leave, but I did as I was told and stayed still. Doing that had served me well up until this point. I just about gasped and gave myself away when she eventually spoke in a sweet and dulcet voice. What's wrong? Don't want to hang out tonight? After she got no response, she would wait about 10 seconds and say something new, trying to be more provocative each time. This went on for a few minutes. Come on, we matched and you know it. You know you want me and I want you. Well, if you're not ready yet, that's alright. I can wait. I can wait a long time. I'll wait for however long I need to for you to come out. You know I don't bite. I'm just a very, very good kisser. You can ask the others. You can meet them too. But why don't you try it yourself? Just come on out. What have you got to lose? I know how lonely you are. I know I'm the only one you'll ever have a chance with. At least I'm the only one who will love you forever. You know you'll always be nothing without me. I'm the only one. The only thing that will ever bring meaning to your life. She got more assertive. I could hear her voice getting closer each time she spoke, trying to get me to come out. Eventually she was so close to the closet door she was practically touching it. She might have been. It was obvious she knew I was in there, but the operator said to sit put, and that she couldn't open the door. So I trusted him for now. You know, you're a worthless, rotting sack of beep. You're not even good enough for the maggots. You have done nothing with your meaningless short life, and you never will, even if I let you live past this night. You can come with me or you can burn. No one is coming to save you. No one can. She stopped for a moment. I think she heard what I heard. There were steps in the hallway. Someone was walking around on my floor. Oh, you talked to them. She let out a giggle, one that would have seemed innocent and cute if it were given in any other context, with a normal girl, but I found it to be far from it. You effing bitch, you'll pay for that. You won't even get what I gave the others. I'll rip your guts out right before your eyes and make you watch all of it. You'll wish you were dead, but I won't kill you, not until... Approaching entity manifestation now, stand by. I heard a man's voice say from just outside my apartment. She screamed in fury before I heard my apartment door slam shut a split second later, with a force I don't think I could replicate with all my might if I tried. I exited my closet and turned my light on as I ran to the door to look through the peephole. I couldn't see anything. What just happened? I think I heard one of your people outside of my door before she charged out, really angry. I asked the operator, who I had hoped was still on the line. One of them tried to catch her right there, but it didn't work. It wasn't fully manifested. He, as well as his partner, are trying to locate the entity now, but we're having no success. A larger team is very close. No need to look out for this one, we know how to get there now. Our priority has changed from containment to extermination. This one is much more dangerous than we could have predicted. What am I supposed to do now? The voice on the line immediately changed from the man's voice to the girl's enraged voice. You should open the door and let me in. I immediately hung up as I was told. This may have saved me for the moment, as in the process of hanging up, I noticed my phone was at 2% battery. I quickly found a charger and plugged my phone in. A minute later, I got a call back from 911. I promptly answered. Are you still there? Did it try to use someone else's voice? It used its own to tell me to open the door. I heard shuffling from outside my room. I first thought that she was back, but I noticed it was a lot of people this time. I could hear faint dialogue from outside the room, and it sounded like they were assembling a piece of furniture. Do you know who is outside my room right now? I asked the operator. Our second team arrived a few minutes ago. Some of them are downstairs setting up a base for this operation. Others are up by your room preparing equipment. Just let them do their thing and this will be over real soon. As long as we're fighting what we think we're fighting. Dear God, I hope so. What about my neighbours? What about the people walking around in the hallways and everyone else in this building? Do they know about this? Are they in danger? What happens to them? Oh, I forgot to tell you, they're just not here. I don't know how to explain it to you in a way you would understand. They won't be seeing our team, you, or this entity for the time being, and we won't be seeing them. They certainly aren't in any danger if that brings any comfort, but I'm afraid you still are. I was once again confused by this new piece of information, but I didn't have the energy to question it at this point. I just wanted this to be done and over with as soon as possible. It's here. I heard a woman assert from outside my door. I heard a few different things turn on. I don't know what they were, but I take it they were some sort of machinery or equipment they had just finished setting up. A few moments of silence passed before I heard a man mutter, "Oh, shit." Seconds later, light bulbs explode. Before gunfire erupts in the hallway outside my room, I sprawled out on the floor and got as flat as possible. though no gunfire ever made its way into my room. These gunshots were quickly followed by an even louder scream from what I assumed to be the girl. The shooting went on for a minute or two, after which I heard a few magazines drop to the floor and some rifles being racked, as well as some louder dialogue and cursing. I started to put on my shoes, hoping this was over now, but besides that, I felt safer with shoes on anyway. Did they get it? I hopefully asked the operator. No, it ploughed right through our guys and got away somewhere in the stairwell. She killed a couple of them and injured a couple more as well. We underestimated her again, but now we know what we have to do. We're almost through this, just keep a level head and you'll be alright. I sat down silenced. 2 people just died on my behalf. 2 people died because I, being the stupid teenager I am, had to be on Tinder messing around. I checked my phone. It hadn't gotten much more of a charge by this time. It was only at 7%. I waited there for another 5 minutes. I just sat in guilt, with my head resting in my hands, thinking of how all this could have been avoided before I heard something coming from my bathroom. I picked up my phone, unplugged it and walked over, pushing the door open to get a peek. Hands were coming out of the toilet and gripping the seat. She pushed down against the seat of the toilet as she attempted to force herself up out of my toilet. I screamed and fell back against the wall. Her head made it out. She was wounded, blood covering her face and arms. I could see that one of her eyes had been shot out and blood still ran from the socket. She turned towards me as she attempted to pull the rest of herself up. She clenched her jaw but revealed all of her teeth to me, also covered in blood. Oh my god, she's climbing out of my toilet. It's too late. Go, run, now. Do you understand? Get out of your apartment. I unlocked my door as I charged out. All of the lights were out, they had been shattered. The hallway looked like a trench from a war. Blood lined the floor and was splattered along the walls and ceiling. There was broken equipment that was alien to me, all up and down the hallway, which I narrowly missed while running away from my room. I could feel the spent brass underneath my feet. The worst sight was the bodies. 2 men in body armour with rifles strapped around them lay lifelessly on the ground. One was flipped over and had a trail of blood behind him as if he was thrown. The other had his upper body propped up against a wall. His lower jaw had been ripped out. I dearly wish I was watching the ground in front of me as I ran, because I took not 2 steps ahead and stepped right on this man's jaw. Oh, lovely. Where do I go? What do I do now? I frantically asked the operator. Get to the stairwell. Go down. I know you're used to there only being a few flights of stairs because the first floor is where they ended. You'll notice they go down further this time. I need you to proceed until you reach the bottom. There you'll find where our team set up their base of operations. I ran down the stairs faster than I think I'd ever run down a flight of stairs before. I didn't feel like I was going to trip or like my legs were getting too tired. Rather, I felt as though my legs were outpacing me. It must have been a good 10 floors worth of stairs before I reached the bottom, but I got there quickly with the energy I had. At the bottom of the stairs were tons and tons of boxes. They looked as if they were military grade or just made to carry really expensive things. A number of them were open and their contents were emptied. I guessed this is where all their fancy equipment came from, that they were trying to use upstairs. On a few of them were laptops. As I walked over to one, I was startled by what I walked past. Between a couple of rows of these boxes, I found another corpse. This one I recognised as being one of the two in suits who would come in earlier. It was the woman. She, like the one man, and I assume the other from my floor, had her jaw ripped out as well. In her hand was a very shiny revolver and quite a beefy-looking .357 Magnum. I set my phone on a box for a moment as I checked it out. I opened the cylinder and found that none of the 6 primers had been struck. This poor woman couldn't even get a shot off before being ripped apart. I found another one of your team members dead. It's the woman who came in first with the man earlier. I notified the operator. What? That's not possible. We just had communication with her. She was supposed to stay there while the rest of the team... Oh no. What? The rest of the team had another engagement with the entity on a higher floor. Their last known contact with it was 4 minutes ago. Our last communication with the agent you're next to was less than a minute ago. The thing is in there with you somewhere. Just then, the lights in the stairwell from top to bottom all exploded in rapid succession. I jumped into a corner and aimed the revolver at the stairs. A moment passed before I began to see a red light illuminate the stairs in front of me. Despite being shattered, the lights began working once again. One by one, they turned on as they had been shattered. I heard humming from many floors above, but I could hear it getting closer. She's coming. What the hell do I do now? Get on one of the computers down there. We've cracked its code. I'm sending you a sound file. Turn up the volume on the laptop. When it gets close, play the audio file. Once it... My phone was dead, and I thought I was too. Fortunately, I kept a level head as the operator told me to. I kept myself as calm as possible as the humming got closer and made its way down the stairs. I ignored it, set the revolver down next to the laptop, and looked through what I could. It was in some sort of weird operating system, and I had no idea how it worked. I found some sort of messaging system like an email, though I don't think it was quite that, and found a recent message. This had to be it. I downloaded and opened the contents, turning up the laptop volume to max. The humming stopped as I heard a giggle from right behind me and a playful voice say, "What do you think you're doing? I already told you what was going to happen to you. Are you ready for a kiss now?" I stood up, taking a deep breath and slowly turning around with one hand still on the box in front of me. "Well, you better give it to me." I somehow was able to deliver with a straight face, despite being more afraid than I ever have in my life, which I assumed was about to end. She approached slowly, opening up her smile from ear to ear once again. Slimy, vicious saliva gushed out of her mouth as she came closer. I hit the spacebar on the laptop before throwing myself to the ground away from her. An annoying, constant high-frequency noise filled the stairwell and hurt my ears, but it did much worse for her. Her feet touched the ground, no longer levitating. She covered her ears tightly, and her massive jaw practically unhinged from her head as she screamed in agony. I reached up for the revolver next to the laptop. I pulled it in close before cocking it. Then I got 2 hands on it and pointed it forward. I was shaking from the adrenaline, but I managed to get my breathing under control for just long enough to level the rear sights with the front. I squeezed. Blood splattered on the stairs behind her as part of her head was blown clean off. I stood and backed up, pulling the trigger as many times as I could. Even when the cylinder was empty, I pulled the trigger a few more times. Once my ears stopped ringing, an application opened on the laptop. The sound file finished playing, and I heard the voice of the operator once again. Anomalous presence no longer detected. You did it, kid. I have no idea how, but you did it. It's over. I stood for a moment and observed the carnage. red lights faded until they were gone. In darkness once again, I was in disbelief both at what just went down and that I was able to stop this thing, whatever it was. I don't think I'll ever know. I began to walk up the stairs, slow and tired. After I made it up a few flights, I saw bright beams coming from flashlights above. A couple of dozen people in body armour, strapped with expensive rifles and submachine guns, ran down the stairs past me. The man in the suit reached down and grabbed the revolver in my hand as I was passing him. I think subconsciously I jerked it away and aimed it at him. He backed up for a moment. "Easy now, son. It's all over. You can relax." I took a deep breath out and handed over the empty revolver. I walked back up to my room, plugged my phone in and started it up. I just sat with my head resting on my desk for a while before getting another call from 911. I picked it up and the operator began to speak once again. "Well, you did it. We've been hunting this one for a while now. It's gotten more victims than almost all of the others combined, but now it's gone, thanks to you. Are you injured? I can get the paramedics to you if you need them." I just sat in silence. I didn't have the energy to speak anymore. "Alright, you might need a minute to decompress and catch your breath, it seems. Stay in your room for the next hour and everything will be back to the normal outside of your apartment. Our team, all of the equipment, and the chaos left in the wake of all of this will be out of sight and out of mind. I know it doesn't make any sense to you, and that will only make processing all of this harder. Just know that if you call your emergency line again, we'll be listening, we'll be here to help. You would be doing not just us, but the whole world and yourself a favour if you never spoke about this as if it happened. Our anonymity and secrecy let us help everyone else out there. I hope you understand. Goodbye now. Stay safe." If you've read this far, you know I've ignored the last thing the operator said to me. I want everyone out there to know. I want everyone to know that you could become the victim of one of these things in the blink of an eye. I want you to know that there are people out there hunting them down, and they seem to not exist by any publicly displayed government information. I want people to know what to do when they call 911. I have no proof. My apartment building did return to normal. I am suddenly missing the text history I had with 911. I am not matched with that profile on Tinder. I have nothing. I also want to know more. Have any of you fallen victim to one of these things? Have any of you heard of them? What are they? Do you know more about this organisation? How was my apartment building changed that night? How was reality bent and shaped back to normal? Please reach out. I need to know more. I was just about to hit the post button when my phone suddenly blew up. "You've got a new match. You've got a new match. You've got a new match. You've got a new match." My phone displayed it 100 times over. "They're coming for me now. I need to make a call." That was a long one to start off with, but let's move on to a shorter story. This one is called Nightmare Catcher. Since I was 10 years old, I've been tormented by nightmares. My parents would hear me moaning and sometimes screaming in my sleep almost every night. Every few nights, the same dream would appear in my mind. I'm standing in front of a statue of an insanely beautiful woman, and suddenly the statue starts decomposing like a dead human body, but it happens in seconds. About a year ago, when I was 14, my mother, a very superstitious person, decided to buy a dream catcher for me. It was a cheap souvenir with plastic beads and black feathers, and she placed it in my room next to the window. For a few nights, no screams nor moans had been heard from my room, and after this time, the the statue appeared again. This time it didn't decompose. It turned into a real woman with a body made out of stone, smiled at me and said, "I will protect you from what comes next." Despite this ominous prophecy, nothing else happened in this dream, and I woke up happy. Both my parents praised the dream catcher, and I was able to continue living, this time without fear. The statue lady would still appear in my dreams from time to time. She would warn me, give me strange advices, and often try to ensure me that she was on my side. It was weird, but way better than having non-stop nightmares. Then, one day, the nightmares came back. I found myself surrounded by fire that was getting closer and closer. Suddenly, the statue lady came from the sky and took me out of there, saving my life. "I promised," she said, disappearing into the mist. The alarm went off about a second later, informing me that it was time to go to school. From this moment on, I'd have the strangest nightmares every night, and the statue lady would always appear to save me from any horrors I was about to endure. With each next dream, she would get more and more colours, slowly turning into a real human body instead of stone. 4 days ago, her change has been completed. She saved me from a psychotic murderer with a chainsaw, and she asked me to call her mother. I did that, and she kissed my forehead. While she was leaning towards my head, I suddenly felt a rotten odour coming from her mouth. The person who leaned back was not my statue lady. It was her heavily decomposed corpse, the one I had been seeing in my older nightmares. "No one will take your sanity from me," she said. "You are mine to torment forever." I woke up screaming, and I saw a ghost or a somehow visible energy wave escaping my bed and flying to the window. It crushed the black dream catcher in half and got out, leaving me scared and crying. My mother's gift had been bringing nightmares upon me, and my old nightmare had felt threatened before it crushed the catcher. Now I am alone against the statue lady again, and since that night I haven't fallen asleep. I feel as if I was slowly losing my mind, and I know that I'll eventually have to get some rest, hopefully before losing my mind. And when I fall asleep, the statue lady will put her rotten hands on me again. This next story is called "Never Stop for Gas at Night." This next story is called "Never Stop for Gas at Night." Growing up as a girl, I've always been told to be cautious. It didn't matter if I was going to the mall or leaving from work. I've always kept my eyes peeled for anyone acting strange or out of the ordinary. Although nothing had happened to me while doing these everyday tasks, the scary idea of getting kidnapped or worse has always been at the back of my mind. Since I was around 16, I've carried at the very least a pocket knife and mace with me wherever I go, just to be on the safe side. My mum was the one that instilled this paranoia in me. I'm not saying I didn't appreciate it. I'm sure it saved me a couple of times without me realising it, but I can't go anywhere now without seeing a potential predator. It's not just men either. I think this way about both men and women, thanks to the internet. Seeing scary videos and stories about couples trying to bait teenage girls to their cars and homes has just pushed this paranoia further and further. In a strange way, I'm glad it did. Getting gas at night was something I did often, which went against basically everything I was taught, but sometimes I forgot to get it earlier in the day, and I just didn't have any other choice. Last night was one of those nights. I remember the price, $3.96 a gallon and $3.93 after my rewards. I was close to an empty tank and I had the money to fill it up, so I just decided to go until it was full. For some reason the pump was going pretty slow, but I wasn't in too much of a rush. I just sat against the side of the truck watching the price on the screen climb higher and higher. There was a slight breeze and the air was cold, but not cold enough that a hoodie wouldn't keep me warm. I unlocked the truck and grabbed my hoodie from the back seat, making sure that I didn't fully turn my back towards the empty parking lot. Once I closed the door, I could barely see a glimpse of my reflection in the back window. It wasn't only me in the reflection though. With my pocket knife in hand, I turned back toward the pump. Not too far away, maybe about 6 feet, was a man. He looked normal, but also a little beat up, you could say. Not by a person, but by the elements. His clothes were torn and soiled, and his hair sat on his head, matted and coated white with dandruff. Other than that, he seemed like any other guy, just too close to a teenage girl for comfort. "Can I help you?" I asked, keeping a straight face. I didn't want to smile to look too friendly. "Got any cash?" He gave me a slight smile, just enough to show his dark and rotting teeth. I tried not to react, just because I didn't want to look friendly doesn't mean I wanted to seem rude either. "No, I don't. I'm using the last of what I have to fill up. I had some spare bills in my truck, but to be honest, I've never given away money to homeless people." Sounds harsh, I'm sure, but it's better to keep your distance. You never know how they might react depending on what you give them. Plus, I didn't want to turn my back on this guy to get anything out of the car. I see. Sorry to bother you then." I figured after that he would walk away. Maybe try and find a busier area with more people to get money from. But he didn't move. Didn't even blink. He just stood there, staring at me. I just stared back. We probably held eye contact for a good 10 seconds before he decided to turn around and make his way back to wherever he came from. He had a slight limp from his left leg, and I could see the soles of his shoes rubbing off. I started to wonder if I should have just given him the change. The pump finally finished, after what felt like an eternity of waiting, and I put it back in its holding spot. At this moment, I felt uneasy and kind of tense. He didn't seem dangerous, but the fact that I couldn't see where the man wandered off made me uncomfortable. In fact, I really couldn't see anything. The 2 street lights and a few flashing bulbs near the front of the gas station didn't provide me with much to go off, and noticing this just made me more freaked out. I had a feeling I needed to get into the car, and fast. I hopped in the front seat, locked the car doors, and checked the back to make sure there was no one back there. Empty, thank God. I turned around to face the windshield, and literally almost pissed myself. The man was back, but he wasn't alone. Next to him, not even 2 feet away from the front of my truck, was a woman. She was small, maybe malnourished, and had the scariest smile on her face I'd ever seen. Her teeth were worse than the man's, even though there weren't many in her mouth to see. I assume that they were homeless, but on some type of drugs as well. It would explain not only the freaky behaviour I was witnessing, but also their appearance. I could barely grasp my key in my hands from shaking, but I managed to start the truck. I turned on the headlights and honked at the pair. Nothing. They didn't move. They didn't try to talk. They just had the same smiles on their faces, menacing and sinister. My chest started to hurt. I knew I wasn't having a heart attack, but God, it it felt like I could. As I moved the gear shift to reverse, I saw the woman hold something up from my peripheral. I was almost too scared to look, and honestly, I wish I never did. The nose on the girl's head she was holding was missing. It didn't look like natural decomposition, not even close. Ripped skin surrounded what I assumed was broken cartilage, and I could tell that her nose was bitten off. Her eye sockets were hollow, and God only knows what they did with her eyeballs. Frozen in fear, all I could do was watch as she ripped the teeth from the girl's lifeless head, placing them one by one in her own mouth. Oh, it's getting a bit graphic. The man stood and watched her, his gaze not departing from her. At this point, I was ready to throw up, but I also couldn't look away. I knew I needed to get help. I grabbed my phone without looking away from the couple and called the police, reversing my truck and driving off on the road in the process. By the time they asked me what the emergency was, I was in hysterics, snot and tears dripping from my face. I doubt they could understand much of what I was saying, but they at least got the location, and that's all that mattered. I'm not really sure what happened after that. I didn't really provide any identifiable information about myself, just what I could explain to the dispatcher about what I saw, what I wish I didn't see. I've had a nightmare about it every night since then. I've had my own teeth ripped out, saw the woman staring at me through my window, and thought I was waking up to the man in my room watching me sleep. I don't know if this is something I'll ever get over. If only I could forget it. But I know one thing for certain now. I'll only be getting gas when the sun is up, never during the night again. I don't want my eyeless, toothless head to be the next one found, all because I wanted to fuel up late at night. I caution you all to do the same as me and avoid it. At the very least, carry something to protect yourself. Maybe something stronger than mace or a pocket knife. Who knows what good that would have done for me had I needed it. Most importantly though, keep your head on a swivel, because if you don't, I guess you never know where your head will end up next. The fourth and final story is titled Scarecrow Blood. Daddy, do scarecrows bleed? I was lost in thought driving to drop off my 6-year-old daughter Angelia to her mum's for the week when she blurted out that show-stopping question. What? What do you mean, sweetie? I asked, glancing back at her as she daydreamed out the window. I saw one in that field. It looked all icky and weird, and covered in blood, she said, her voice a mixture of fright and concern. I looked at the side mirror toward the cornfields we were passing by and nodded absently. I'm sure it's nothing. It won't hurt you, I told her. I should have paid attention, but my mind was on this separation. I knew Marcy wanted a divorce, and I knew there wasn't much left for me to do to stop it. Getting a lawyer, trying to juggle 2 minimum wage jobs, and handle a 6-year-old was taxing enough. So we agreed a week on, week off for Angelia until we could settle on things that would be permanent going forward. Thankfully, she was more concerned with her pet iguana and watching My Little Pony than the problems we were having. But her little comment about the scarecrow had me wondering if her worry was expressing itself in a different way. When we got there, I'd forgotten almost entirely about the incident and focused instead on the new car park in Marcy's garage. It didn't take me long to find it belonged to a new boyfriend, Todd, who was just leaving as I gathered Angelia's things. Had she deliberately made sure that he lingered just long enough to cement the idea in my head that we were over? Took you long enough? Did you get lost? She said as she got up from the porch swing. There was construction. You don't need to jump down my throat, I muttered as I watched Todd drive off. I see you didn't waste any time. I was baiting her for an argument, but it didn't work. Marcy said she was tired and needed a rest for her next shift at the hospital, so I gave Angelia a hug and drove back toward home. I had to speed a little just to make it to work, my mind drifting to her inquiry about the Scarecrow as I passed the cornfields. Maybe it was some prank. It was almost Halloween. Kids do crazy things. Or maybe she dreamed it up. Truth be told, I didn't really give it a second thought. But then again, I haven't been giving much of anything a second thought lately. It's crazy that even though Marcy is in the same town, it now feels like we're worlds apart. But that's what happens when something comes between you and your partner, I guess. Although I wasn't sure I could even call Marcy that anymore. That night, on my way home from my second job, she called in a fluster. "What have you been letting Angelia watch on her tablet?" What's wrong? I could tell her tone of voice was mostly irritation, but there was an underlying level of worry there. Something was wrong. She woke up screaming and crying and said a bloody Scarecrow was outside the house. Marcy snapped. I felt a strange chill run down my spine. "I'm sorry. I should have said something earlier. She said she saw it in the cornfields on her way to your house." "Marcy, I didn't even know it was a problem. Just thought it was her weird imagination," I admitted. "Well, you need to fix this. She won't listen to me." I heard a soft rustling noise, and a moment later my daughter's whimper on the other end of the line. "Hey baby, can't sleep, huh? You had a bad dream?" I asked softly as I drove down the dark roads. "No, it wasn't a dream. It was in the backyard. I saw it, Daddy, and it was mad at me," she said between sobs. "Is it there now? Maybe it went away," I asked, calmly trying to reason with her. She paused, apparently thinking about it. "What if it comes back?" she whispered. "Well, I'm sure your mum will make sure it doesn't, but even if it does, maybe the Scarecrow is lonely. Maybe it just wants a friend." I was hoping that by making a supposed monster sound nice, it would lessen the issue. But the plan seemed to backfire immediately, as she cried, "But Daddy, it was covered in so much blood." Okay, calm down. Maybe it got hurt. Maybe it needs help. I'm sure it's not going to hurt you. I'm sure everything will be fine. Your mum is there, and nothing can get you," I told her. You promise?" she asked. "I promise. Now, I want you to be a big girl and go to sleep, okay?" I told her. She promised she would and passed the phone back to our mum, who did not offer a complimentary thank you. I sighed, wishing that whatever dreams my daughter had that night were good, and hung up the phone so I could focus on driving. I was almost at the fields where she had claimed to see the Scarecrow, and I slowed down just a bit to see if I could spot anything amid the corn. I felt a little silly doing it, trying to rationalise the hyper-imagination of a 6-year-old, as I looked out toward one field and saw the familiar silhouette of a Scarecrow. Even from this angle, I had to admit that it did look strange. Rather tall and weirdly dressed, even for a mannequin. Was there really blood on its clothes, or were my eyes playing tricks with me? At the same time, I heard a loud noise and looked up just in the nick of time to see that I had let the car drift into oncoming traffic. Immediately I jerked the wheel back to my lane, my heart going 1,000,000 miles an hour, as I pulled over and slammed on the brakes. I sat there gripping my steering wheel for a second as I realised that I had come inches from meeting my maker, just because I wanted to get a good look at a damned puppet in the middle of a field. Recomposing myself, I let out a breath and drove home, convinced that I was just being an overprotective parent and my daughter was letting the separation get to her in her own weird way. It would be and say that I was right about everything, and we all lived happily ever after, wouldn't it? The next day, I got a text with a picture attached. Angelia had drawn the Scarecrow at school, and her teacher, concerned, forwarded it to Marcy. "Explain," the caption from my soon-to-be ex-wife said as I stared at the picture. The childish drawing was black and red and dripping little bits of blood on the ground, a long stream of red crayons squiggling over to a cartoonish rendition of Angelia herself. She looked happy, but behind her I saw what I guessed was two stick figures, meant to be me and Marcy. Both of us sad and lying sideways like we were under the ground. I sighed and stopped by her after school dance class to get a better understanding. Apparently it was my fault this was happening, since I'd put the idea in her head the Scarecrow was friendly. "What does the picture mean?" I asked her as she took a break. "Oh, you saw it. You were right, Daddy, the Scarecrow was lonely. But now we are connected," she said. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "I don't know, I can just feel it," she replied in a sing-song voice. "Well, I guess that's good, but why are me and Mummy sad in the picture?" I asked. "Oh, that's Mummy and Todd, not you. Daddy, you are silly, you know, you are taller than Todd," she said with a giggle. I focused still on the fact that they were frowning, and her answer gave me some clue about her state of mind. "The Scarecrow doesn't like them, so I can't be with them. That's why they look sad," she told me. It was a childish explanation, but I told myself it meant that she longed to be with me rather than Marcy. That night, I tried to reason with my wife about it. "You work so much and Angelia isn't getting the attention she needs when she is here." Poor choice of words, because that just fired her up. "I can handle things just fine. You're the problem here, David. You're sticking these weird ideas into her head and making her scared of everything. I swear to God, once I get a good lawyer, you will never get to see her again." That really hurt to hear my wife lash out at me that way. I knew this was hard on her, and I knew I was an easy target. And this time I didn't let it go any further, and I left. Maybe she was right and this was my fault. I was the one that couldn't keep our family together, couldn't make ends meet, and couldn't live up to the promises of our commitment. I wasn't a good husband, and definitely not a great father, but damn it, I was trying. Maybe too hard. Maybe that was the problem. I didn't know, and I was too tired for another argument, so I let it go that time. The next morning, things escalated even further when I was woken from bed with repeated calls from Marcy. "Jesus, this better be an emergency, you know I work late," I muttered. "Please, for the love of God, David, tell me this isn't your idea of a sick joke," she said. I was awake immediately when I heard the distress and panic in her voice. "What's wrong? Has something happened?" I asked. "That damned Scarecrow Angelia has been harping about. It's in the backyard." That tingling sensation of impending doom flooded me again. "I'll be right over." I hung up, grabbed some fresh clothes and drove to a house. When I got there, she was on the front porch smoking, and I gave her an odd look. "Don't start with me. You better be glad I didn't call the police. I want that thing dismantled and out of my yard this second," she snapped. "Wait a minute, hold up. You aren't making sense. First of all, it would be impossible for me to do anything like that. I was at work, and your backyard is locked. Besides, you're not exactly a heavy sleeper," I said as I followed her through the house to the glass sliding doors that connected to the fenced-in yard. I was hoping my logic would provide some sense of control to the situation, but when I looked out toward the grass and saw the thing, all of it felt meaningless. The thing stood about 8 feet tall, locked lopsided and made of decaying wood with tattered clothes that were clearly drenched in blood. I had no idea it would look so ghastly. Immediately I pulled my cell phone out and Marcy asked, "What are you doing?" "What do you think I'm doing? I'm calling the police. Someone is clearly playing a sick prank on us." "So it wasn't you," she said, her voice quivering. "Dear God, no. I may not like this any more than you, but I'm not going to play mind games like this," I said as I dialed. "Angelia didn't see it, did she?" "No, I got her on the school bus before I discovered it." "Thank goodness. She doesn't need any more nightmares," I said. I made a quick report and gave the dispatcher my wife's address before turning to her with a fresh idea. "Listen, this place is going to transform into a crime scene for a while. Maybe it would be a good idea for Angelia to stay at my place tonight." Marcy looked like she wanted to argue but seemed defeated and nodded in agreement. I kept staring at the Scarecrow, disturbed by its jagged body and wondering just whose blood had been used to give it such a grisly appearance. I went to work, trying to put the issue out of my mind, and picked up Angelia around 2. She was thrilled to get out of school early and I treated her to ice cream. It made everything seem bright to see her smile, even though I wasn't sure what was happening. That night, I tucked her in with a bedtime story and tried not to fret over the bizarre situation at Marcy's. As I was about to drift to sleep, Angelia screamed and I jolted to her bedside. She was pointing at the window where the sliding panel had pushed up and the curtains fluttered in the wind. Had someone tried to break in? Was that what this whole thing was? Instead, as I approached the window, I saw a dark silhouette in my own backyard. The Scarecrow had moved here. As I stared at it, I slowly closed the window and pulled the curtains close, my voice shaky as I reassured Angelia everything was fine. Once she had drifted to sleep, I grabbed my gun from my safe and stepped out onto the back porch, confronting the thing. As it stood there only a few meters away, I could sense an otherworldly presence. I knew its arrival here tossed out any logical explanation for this. I was clearly dealing with an evil spirit of some kind. Despite the fact that my mind came to this conclusion, I still thought my gun would protect me. And I raised it toward the Scarecrow, demanding answers. "What do you want from us? You aren't going to hurt my daughter, you hear me?" Of course, the bloody thing didn't respond, and that only infuriated me more. I fired a warning shot, yelling at the apparition, "I know you're listening. You need to leave us alone." A moment later, I heard a loud knock on my front door. Cautiously, I approached with the firearm and opened it, not sure what to expect. Seeing 2 dressed police officers there would have been my last guess. "David Weston," they asked, scanning me up and down and probably thinking I looked like a madman. "There's been a homicide at your wife's residence. We need to bring you in for questioning." My mouth was dry. "What? That's not possible. What happened?" I asked. "Sir, put the gun down. We can answer questions at the station," the first officer said. She was reaching for her taser. Immediately I dropped the firearm, begging for them to listen. "I called the police hours ago to go investigate an issue at her house. Are you telling me my wife is dead?" I shouted. Behind me I heard Angelia made a soft whimper from her room. "Daddy, I had a bad dream. What's going on?" "Sir, your daughter is going to remain in police custody while you come down to the station to answer a few questions," the second officer said. It was clear the discussion was over for the moment, and I kindly told Angelia to gather her things for a trip. I was staring out at the backyard, fully aware the Scarecrow was now gone again. It had come here to let let us know its work was done, I thought, as I drew the connection to Angelia's drawing. Once she was out of earshot, I asked the officers, "Did you find 2 bodies? Are you admitting that you are aware of something related to the case, Mr. Weston? Just tell me, please, was my wife alone or not?" The officer saw something in my eyes to trust me. "No, there were 2 bodies, blood everywhere. They looked like they were pulled apart limb by limb," he admitted. That ended the conversation until we arrived at the station where they fingerprinted me and got a blood sample. I was numb to all of it. I didn't want my wife dead. Sure, I hated the fact that we were going our separate ways, but this was beyond my resentment. The Scarecrow had caused this. Why, I didn't know, nor was I sure if it would leave us alone now. I answered the officers' questions as best I could until they told me I was free to go. When I did end the questioning, I asked them if they found anything unusual in the backyard. Was there a scarecrow? I asked. Their confused faces told me the answer was no. On the way home, I apologised to Angelia for everything and sat her down on the edge of her bed to explain about Marcy. Before I could get the words out, she said, "Mummy is gone, you know. So is Todd." "You know?" I asked. "I saw it in the Scarecrow's dreams. It was a horrible dream." "You woke up screaming. Angelia, please, what else did the Scarecrow show you?" "Nothing really, just a bunch of blackbirds over us every night. They have been following us. I think they will report to him." "Report what?" "If you're taking care of me or not," she said simply. Again that odd moment of unease fell over my body. "Because you're connected and you felt Mummy wasn't being fair to you." "Yep, and now she's gone. You were right, Daddy. The Scarecrow does want to help me." The implications terrified me. "Daddy, can we stop for ice cream?" she asked sweetly. I was looking toward the fields, the silhouette of the bleeding Scarecrow watching me every time my eyes cast that way. "Sure, sweetie," I said through gritted teeth. "Anything you want." And that is gonna conclude it for the scary stories tonight. Really, the scariest one was probably the one that was the most likely to happen. That was the gas station one. But even if you didn't find these stories scary, I hope you at least found them entertaining and maybe even relaxing. Oddly, I find scary stories but whispered still relaxing, but also horrifying at the same time. I didn't really need the hood up, they weren't that bad to be fair. I was expecting a lot worse. But that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much guys for watching. Congratulations if you made it to this far in the video. This might be my longest video yet, I'm not sure yet. If you did enjoy this video, then please do give it a like. And if you're new here, then consider subscribing.